I'm skipping a few verses, and I'll explain why. It's not really a good reason, but reading from the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, Volume 1, Chapter 3, Text 28. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Aho brahmādi-duṣprāpye. Aiśvarye saty apīdṛśe. Tat sarvaṁ sukham ātmyam anādṛtyāvadhūta-vat. Just see, though you have power and opulence, unobtainable by Brahmā and the other demigods, you disregard your material happiness and live like a holy madman. I'm just going to read a few verses. It's Narada talking about Lord Shiva. Although fixed in trance of devotion for Lord Vishnu, you appear totally insane. Who else but you would go dance naked with his wife in attendance? Today I've finally seen your amazing, uncontrollable eagerness to serve the Supreme Lord in pure devotion. No wonder Krishna always loves you the most. What more can I say? Krishna's love for you is never interrupted, and by your mercy, many others have become dear to him. Commentary. Narada is amazed that the greatest master of yoga discipline, the chief of the self-satisfied sages, the husband of material nature, completely disregards common standards of cultured behavior. He does not even walk and dance normally. Lord Shiva's natural expressions of his inner feelings, if exhibited by anyone else, would be considered unacceptable or insane. Narada understands, however, that Lord Shiva's unusual behavior is a sign of his exceptional greatness as a Vaishnava who deeply tastes the ecstasy of devotional exchanges with the Supreme Person. Therefore, many serious aspirants for spiritual perfection, such as the 10 Prajetas, have taken shelter of Lord Shiva to obtain the rare gift of Vishnu Bhakti. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Taksur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vansha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, I don't know how many times I can use this trick, but I have a little audience today. But it's another day where I feel totally unprepared. Prepared for me is waking up really early and chanting a lot. And then looking at the verses enough to understand where we were, where we are, and where we're going. Context is everything. Without context, you can't have meaning. You can't understand things. Everything has a context. That's why if you want to understand the Bhagavatam, you have to understand the author. Why he's writing it. So, but actually, sometimes these sacrifices are blissful. At Nava Nilachala Dham, Jack's house where I stay, I'm leaving tomorrow. So we hosted a program, and we had Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj. Some of you, I see some of the people there have been here, but he's a very interesting Vaishnava. He seems to have something deep within him, but he's definitely out of the box. He preached Krishna consciousness by starting a spiritual motorcycle gang. It's not really a gang, but it looks like it, called Ahimsa, where they ride into town on their motorcycles and do Harinam and spread love and kirtan. So he came, and it was very charming. He had a very good translator. He only speaks French. I'm cognizant of what good translators are. He's really in tune. And, because he's got the Amala Vaishnav tattoos all over his head. And so he was really impressed with my congregation. Even the mothers have sleeves. So we had about, how many people, Jack, were here total with me?
22.
We had 22 people. We had an incredible feast. The things that people cooked, it was really special. So I didn't get to bed until night. And even though I didn't eat, it's kind of like sometimes they say these crises with drugs, even if the drugs are around and you smell them. So just being around all the food, I was kind of filled last night. And then I'm going to India, and I'm sure some of you would say, wow, I wish also I was going. I'll arrive on Radhastami at 1 a.m. in the morning. And as soon as I can, I'll go to Radhakund. But when I was at the Vyasa Puja, I realized, wow, I'm the oldest person here. How did that happen? And a lot of times, wherever I am, I'm the oldest person. I don't feel it, but a cultured society has a concept of retired life. And what I'm observing in America, and I think everybody has to be very cognizant of it, the standard of living is going down. But in an interesting way, it's not that people don't have things. They have the same amount of things or more, but they have to work twice as hard to get them. They have to work twice as hard to get them. They have to spend all their money to get them. And generally, if they're married, their wife also has to work, even if there are children. It's like a real I'm not against capitalism, but it can be exploited. The exploitation of it, and it's also an illusion because people used to work. They didn't have as many things. But I know my father would come home and give my mother $200 a week. And I remember the highest baseball salary was Mickey Mantle. He got $40,000. But, my father could retire. People used to retire. My brother's 75. He's still working. My other brother's 68. He's still working. So they made it where you used to work and, you counted your retirement and you could actually retire. As my doctor made house calls for $10. He made house calls for $10 when he was sick. Who does that anymore? That's an opulence. You were sick, the doctor would come to you. And I remember gas at 19 cents a gallon. I remember when I bought my new Volkswagen, when I graduated, my parents were so happy they bought me a new car. A Volkswagen, $1,900, new Volkswagen. So that Vedic culture where there's a time of the life only for God, you all should figure out, no matter what you're doing, how you'll make that plan. There has to be a time only for God. I have mentioned that you have to have times of the day only for God. We have to have times of the month, Janmastamis and Madhavatitis, days of Lord Hari, Janmastamis, Kadasis, only for God, times of the year, these kind of pilgrimages. I'm here with Jack and Min. They just came to Colombia. And wow, wasn't it nice just spending 5 days only for God? It's quite and faith is the most important thing. I think most of you here, about my Vyas Puja, and I told you that, sometimes I think, well, they spend too much money. But then I see the inspiration and the faith in people's hearts. And there's nothing more important than faith. Because faith drives you to the right objective. Faith is your objective. Faith is, in Sanskrit, faith is Shraddha. Faith is the right objective. So it drives you to the right objective. So I know you won't be envious of me that I'm going to Govardhan. I also worked hard in my life, a lot of sacrifices, but I that's what I was thinking. People have to make a plan. Doesn't have to even be India, but it has to be a plan. Only for God at time of your life. And just think of the Vedic system. It was the age of 50. In the early days of ISKCON, we were thinking at 50, people take sannyas. Or at least vanaprastha and 75 sannyas. I mean, 50 is the new 30. People are just beginning their lives, getting it together. Anyway, then the second thing, we're discussing this story. And there's an interesting point here, what real advancement is. What real advancement is an internal thing, not an external. But the external often does represent the internal. It's just not an absolute. So a lot of times when you see the external, it represents the internal, but it's not absolute. And as Prabhupada's godbrother, Srila Sridhar Maharaj mentioned, and I always repeated that we judge a Vaishnav not by his ordinary dealings, but by the inspired side. Everyone has a particular culture, background, samskaras. Oh, there's so many things. It's the internal side. And sometimes I've seen this. People externally, they may not be doing as well, but internally they're doing well, in the sense that it's like an Olympic diving match. You get credit not just for your performance, but the degree of difficulty. So sometimes people have a tremendous degree of difficulty and they perform. I always think I have a godbrother, Panamandit, in Boston. His degree of difficulty is incredible. He has severe mental challenges. If he doesn't, they give him lithium. It's like a very heavy And one time he didn't take his medicine and he stole the deities. Instead, he took the deity, But he comes to that temple every single day, wakes up late in the afternoon. He's like in a mental facility, some kind of facility, is it? And he cleans that temple from the bottom to the top with such dedication, such like anxiety if something's not properly clean. It's 3 or 4 stories. He cleans it every day. Whatever money he got, because now there's a little more money in this guy. We had no money. He'd buy like a smoothie drink in the market and give it to someone, but of course, the external is also important. Our behavior represents also, it's just not absolute. And I think this point here is being made with Lord Shiva, because externally, what normally would be associated with the false ego and ignorance, dancing naked, so many things, for him, it was different why he was doing this. He was so internally absorbed that he wasn't cognizant. Generally, we have to be concerned not just what we do, but how it looks. And therefore, Prabhupada said, for example, like dress like a gentleman. So these things are very important. And there is such a reflection on externals too. So I'm not saying the proper protocol and do this is very important. So it generally indicates a lot. Prabhupada said a devotee is a perfect gentleman. So, but it takes a certain cognizance that this is the way that people think, this is the way I behave to communicate, who we are, etc. So generally it takes a certain cognizance. But here, with Lord Shiva, he's so internally absorbed that aspect of his intelligence is not operating. So he's doing things that socially would indicate something else than who he is. And therefore, a preacher comes down to the platform of madhyam, not uttam. Because from uttam, you can't preach, because from uttam, if you stay with your heart and your bhav, that's prema. It's such a strong desire for Krishna that you think, and I mentioned that this is my own idea, why people who have prema don't think they have prema. And I think one reason is I look at it as an analogous to hunger. When you're very, very hungry, it means you don't have food. So bhakti is a hunger for Krishna. So people who really, really want Krishna, they feel they don't have it. And if you feel you don't have it, then what right do you have to preach to people who don't? But there's an intellectual component also at the same time, that the uttama adhikari comes down to madhyam to make discriminations for preaching. So it's an intellectual view that he has to keep. But Lord Shiva, somehow his kind of bhav and personality and who he is, not different from Krishna, not different from Krishna, but a little changed in the material world. He just doesn't come down. He just doesn't come down. But now Narada, seeing that ecstasy and having the context to understand it, doesn't make the mistake that Lord Shiva is crazy. There's also a concept called avadhūta. Avadhūta means that there are certain personalities who, by their nature and by the delegation of Krishna within their hearts, are just meant for bhajan. And you can get that inspiration. Different people have different services, and we don't judge that someone is doing bhajan, he's not preaching, he's not advanced. Or someone who is preaching, he's just preaching, he's not advanced. Real advancement is being connected with Krishna's will and following it. And Krishna will use people in different ways. But an avadut, he really feels his service is just to chant and go deeper. God says to him, your service is you just go deeper in your Krishna consciousness and don't worry about others. And sometimes they even act in antisocial ways so that they won't be disturbed, like Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta. Because he was a Brahmin, or he was a king, he was very advanced, and then he got attached to a deer. Oh, how cute. Oh, how cute. And then he got born as a deer, but with cognizant to stay where sadhu so he can hear. And then in his next life, he was born in a Brahmin family, but he didn't want to get entangled again in the world. So he acted antisocial. His father would teach him, go to the bathroom and you wash yourself with water after. He would wash it before. But Lord Shiva is not like that. It's not just he's calculating, I want to be separate. He's not calculating like that. He's legitimately in that mood, and by God's grace, and he is God in that sense, he just goes in that direction. So sometimes there are avaduts, and they just want to be left alone. Leave me alone. I just want to, psychology is very powerful, and you go along with your psychology. Some people are extremely introverted or it doesn't mean they're not advanced. It's just they're so happy inside, and the external is a disturbance to their psychology, and they use it in devotional service. And someone else being internal is a little bit disturbing, and they get energy from outside, and they use it in devotional service. They just gab for Krishna. They just talk for Krishna. They socialize, they preach, they go. So different personalities. But the main point is Narada wants to see who has Krishna's mercy. And ultimately, the person who has Krishna's mercy, the topmost recipient of Krishna's mercy, is the person who has the highest level of devotion. That's mercy. Because mercy has to be connected with joy, and joy is bhakti. And Lord Shiva is in ecstasy. His natural expressions of inner feelings exhibited to anyone else would be considered unacceptable or insane, because it doesn't calculate with an intellectual analysis of, just like autism. One characteristic that I realized, the inability to read minds. So they'll come and they'll be socially awkward. You'll be giving a class. I remember I was giving a class, and one person had autistic son. He just walked in like no one was there. He didn't, he couldn't have that ability to understand people's minds, where normally you'd walk in, oh my God, that guy's looking, oh, I'm causing a disturbance. No. So you look, oh, there's something wrong. But no, Lord Shiva is. And we see how much Srila Prabhupada had to stay on the platform of madman for preaching, discrimination, intellect, understanding. How can you preach? You have to calculate all the time. What is a person's mind? What is their frame of reference? What will people think? How do I represent myself? Which is so important. So important. So we'll go on to the next verse. Parvayascha prasadena bhavastat priyakrita tattva bhigya visheshena bhavatur iyam evahi. My renounced Yeti cup. Can you imagine this? For what it was filled with beer, would I be renounced simply because I had a sannyas cup? I have ginger tea without sugar. It's such a good brand. I would take that box to India. It's such a good brand. So, by Mother Parvati's mercy, also many other persons have become dear to Lord Krishna. She knows in detail the true nature of both Krishna and you. The Puranas tell of persons like Jana Sharma, who by Parvati's mercy became great Vaishnavas. Jana Sharma's story will be told in the second part of Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta. So I guess part of his glories is his eternal consort. And that's not different. That's Shakti and Shaktiman. Shaktiman is the possessor of energy, and Shakti is the energy. Now glorifying his energy. Krishnasya Bhagina Vaisha Sneha Patram Siddhambika Ata-eva Bhavan Atma Ramo Pietan Upekshite. Mother Parvati Ambika is Krishna's own sister, who always received his affection. That is why you care for her, even though fully satisfied in yourself. So I guess he has relationship with Parvati, but it's related to Krishna because she's an expansion of Krishna's sister, Subhadra. So he's explaining. And I think what happened before this, and I didn't go, I needed to have verses I could speak on. I think what happened before this is Lord Shiva militantly wouldn't accept any praise. And Narada said, well, at least you understand and you can distribute Krishna consciousness. Okay, you may not want to accept that you're God, and of course, when we say Lord Shiva is God, it's a special category. It's not Jiva Tattva, it's not Vishnu Tattva, it's Shiva Tattva. It's this slight transformation of God in relationship to the material world. But he said, okay, I'm sorry I called you God, but accept this. And then because Lord Shiva defended himself, that I'm not God, look at all the mistakes I made. Then there are a few verses where he explained that these things, again, which obviously looked like arrogance or obviously looked like something wrong, Narada gave the context. So it won't be misunderstood and you'll misjudge Krishna. A lot of times I'm not excusing bad behavior, or antisocial, but a lot of times there's a context. And if just like forgiveness, sometimes you have to understand the context of the person. The suffering he had, the bad family he had, the trauma he had. So sometimes the context maybe takes away some of the hurt and some of the personal animus you may have towards that person because there's a context to it. So we talked a lot about this. I actually got it from Jai Jagannath's class. He was very nice, discussing coming to the level of meaning where you can see something clearer. And then you can bring things that ordinarily may be traumatic by context to a level of God's mercy. And we're seeing it on that level rather than this narrow level. of your victimhood, which is a very dangerous concept, because if you embrace victimhood, it's a danger that you'll lose self-initiative, because you'll feel it's not my fault. I'm not saying that there's a place for understanding people being marginalized, yourself, etc., within the context. But if you dwell on that too much, then you may sacrifice the initiative you need and the context you need to rise above that. We have to be very, very careful of that. You know, I think presently now we have something called like the Victim Olympics. You know, the more you get more status, the more things you have against you. But if you get in that consciousness and embrace it, then you'll just expect the help to come from outside, which it may not. Maybe it should come, and people should be helped. Certainly when they're put in positions, when people are put in positions in society by a pyramid of wealth, which the top people take too much, the bottom people have no chance. So that we have to be very careful about that. But on the other hand, in a nuanced and balanced way, we have to be very careful of not taking away people's self-initiative. So Parvati is non-different expansion of Yoga Maya, who appeared on earth from the womb of Yasoda Devi. At the same time, Krishna was born from Devaki. Sri Krishna therefore regards Parvati as his sister. So Narada is saying, this is not an ordinary relationship with Parvati. She's extraordinary. Vichitra Bhagavan Nama Sankirtan Kahotsarai Sarimam Ramayan Vishnu Jana Sanga Sukham Bhajet. You give her pleasure, Narada talking to Lord Shiva, you give her pleasure by holding wonderful festivals with singing of Lord Vishnu's name and reciting of his glories. At that time, she enjoys the company of Lord Vishnu's devotees. So Vichitra, wonderful, Bhagavat Nam, Sankirtan, Katha Utsava, Sada, always by Utsava festivals of Katha and Bhagavat Sankirtan, wonderful Bhagavat Sankirtan. I'm thinking of the Puri Yatra, and this year I'm kind of not as proactive. You know, when festivals go on, Puri Yatra goes on, Colombia, it's not just happening. I'm calling people and I'm selling it or reminding them. But this year, kind of somehow not in that mood. So the Puri Yatra, and I thought also, like last year was very special because people were starved after COVID, so everyone came to the Dham at once. You know, I think even the Vyas Puja, I think it was many people, but last year especially, it's like everyone, you know, they were so starved to get things going. But I looked at the list of people, and I think we only have about 10 rooms left of that whole retreat center.
Wow.
You know, and Mahaprem Avesh is going. Mikey Prem. What a nice Vaishnav. He was my assistant in Vrindavan. He was my assistant in Vrindavan for a while. I'm so happy he's coming. Sri Gandharvika is coming. She comes on our sanghas. And other people, and especially I'm thinking because I used to just have the Puri Yatra, and then people like go to. Now I have the Govardhan thing, so people have to choose. So it's, but still, I saw the list, and the Raval family, 8 of them are coming, so that's so nice. And I looked at the list of people coming. But what this describes the Puri Yatra, Vichitra Bhagavat Nama, the wonderful kirtan Nam of Bhagavan. I signed up, 5 of the top kirtaniers. We have these young people from Vrindavan that are phenomenal and pure, that were there last year. Giriraj and those 2 Mauritians, they're fabulous kirtaniers. Not just show people, but really. And of course, a Kinchana Krishna. And we have Sundar Govinda, who's fabulous kirtanier. His grandfather was the head of the Bolshoi ballet. He has that samskara, and his wife, Neelambari, another lady, Divya Shakti, who's a wonderful kirtanier. So, yeah. Chad, I looked at the list. Your name's not on it yet. If you're going, please let us know. So I want to reserve the room. Sri Parikshit Uvacha Tato Maheshwaro Matas Trapavana Mitanana Naradam Bhagavan Bhaktam Avadad Vaishnava Grahai. Sri Parikshit said, "Dear mother, Lord Shiva was so embarrassed by hearing this that he lowered his face. Then that leader of the Vaishnavas answered the great devotee Narada." Commentary: Lord Shiva's first reaction was to feel ashamed at hearing himself praised. Then he began to think that since the praise was altogether untrue, Narada may be making fun of him. Right? You can make fun of someone by glorifying them in a quality, they don't have. And if I use an example, I'd be making fun of someone, so I can't use an example. How about this? Oh, Dhanurdhara Swami, oh, speaker of the elegant Oxford English. Oh, Sri Rupa. And make some Sanskrit term. One whose English is the epitome of. She wouldn't mind, because we can make fun of it because we actually think it's an opulence. So he thought, I'll just put it in English terms, my English term. I'll take it in my local vernacular. Basically, Lord Shiva said, "What are you kidding me? What are you kidding me? You're joking. Me? Oh, how painful this is. My dear Narada, free of every trace of false pride, how can you compare me, the root of all pride, to Krishna, the Lord of prideless, the Lord of prideless sages? Lord Shiva presides over the material force of ahankara, by which everyone from the rulers of planets on down thinks himself very important. And so Lord Shiva has some reason to blame himself for the false ego that pervades the material universe. Narada, in contrast, is free from the influence of ahankara and so should not be idolizing Lord Shiva. At the opposite end to Lord Shiva is the spectrum of egotism. Lord Krishna is the source of pure pridelessness. Lord Shiva implies this by comparison that no real relationship can exist between himself and Lord Shiva, who is so opposite in the nature. So Lord Shiva is the presiding deity of the false ego. It doesn't mean he has it, but he's associating with that element. And therefore, when you want to go to Vrindavan, you first have to pray to Lord Shiva to remove the false ego and gain entrance. Because if you think you're superior or you want to be superior, or even if you have psychological complexes, you still look at yourself as the center. You never can see who is. So very important. So Lord Shiva now is going to counteract that. Yeah, I'll go after lunch today. I don't embarrass her, but Minna's been here. And she's been cooking different varieties of Asian. Yesterday we had these spring rolls. What?
Summer.
What?
Summer rolls.
Summer rolls. Very nice, and it's so nice. So she's going to cook a simple Korean food for me today, so I can go digest it. And then the way I travel is, if I finish a meal, I don't wait around to go to the airport. I'd rather sit in the airport than wait to go, because to me, the airport is anxiety. I'd rather get it over. So what I'll do is, if I leave at 8:30, I'll arrive at 4:30. I'll be the first one through, and I'll sit at the airport peacefully. That's my thing for my traveling. I have it's comedy is when you act according to conditioning. That's why that's first prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha hankarava mudhatma kartahamiti manyate, that one who thinks he's the doer, he's a fool. So it's foolish to act according to you don't generally laugh about a discriminating person until his discrimination becomes a conditioning, where his analysis, so that's comedy. Some kind of like Woody Allen-esque when I'm traveling. I prepare everything. I prepare a list. I check off everything, and I go. And as soon as I get in the car, I go like this: my passport, my money, my ticket. I go into this whole thing. What if there's no space on the overhead for my, it's just, but at least I could watch it and I could laugh. I could laugh at it because it's so funny. And you kind of, yeah. Okay, Jamuna Jaya, you must have something that you appreciated today.
Hare Krishna Raj, thank you so much. Once again, your technique worked.
What's that? My technique worked. It does. It works every time.
Every time. It's your secret formula every time. I was just really appreciate a couple things. I always appreciate Narada Muni and Lord Shiva are two of my favorites. So this interaction between them is so super sweet. But I really appreciated what you were speaking about at the beginning of class, this notion, what you say often, that America used to be a wealthy country and now it's not, that that whole thing of that we're working so hard. So I've been rereading some of Prabhupada's stuff, and that old thing about you don't want to work over endeavor and work like dogs and hogs, and really feeling like that really Prabhupada hit it on the head. That's what we've become even more. So I'm just really appreciating that we really not doing the simple living high thinking. We're just sort of chasing things and not being wealthy and not retiring on time. So,
right. And even people who want to be simple, sometimes they have to work so hard just for that now,
yeah. I haven't finished watching Titus, but it's pretty amazing, that fellow. That's it's
Yeah.
amazing.
He's a Christian, he's a vegetarian, so but he had that kind of realization. It's I'm thinking I told Min when I leave, we're going to go to my room and we're just going to clean it out, and I'll get rid of all the clothes, extra things. They just pile up. Gifts, things, pile of things you need, and it just piles up, and it occupies your mind. Just yeah. I have an interesting nature because I'm so organized, like when it comes to a festival, every detail. But when it comes to my desk, it's so disorganized. Why can't I apply that to this? It just, okay. Well, thank you, Jamunajaya.
Thank you, Raj.
And
Safe travels.
Ishvari Sundari, I heard, is feeling okay.
Yeah. She I'll probably talk to her today. Yesterday she said she was pretty in and out of it, but they already gotten her up and walking on a walker, which they said was really good. She was just a little nauseous and the pain meds were making her loopy. So
She's still in the hospital.
yes. Yeah.
And of course she has to take pain pills because they operated her back, right?
Yeah. So
But
she was saying I texted her quickly yesterday and I said, "Are you up for a phone call?" She said, maybe today she'd be up for talking, but she was still
okay,
feeling
tell her
pretty
that you told me. I send my blessings.
okay. I will, Marsh.
And yeah, hopefully, because she was in so much pain
Yeah.
for that.
So much
A lot
pain.
of times when you get these operations, then that pain is gone and you can function better. But it's so interesting.
Yeah.
She gets initiated like practically a day before she's going into the hospital. So maybe that was part of the initiation. She gets a new body.
Right. That's what I told her. New name, new body.
Okay.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Raj.
Okay. Anybody else say, Gail?
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. I mean, Prabhu Maharaj. Oh my God.
Don't dare call me Prabhu. How dare you call me Prabhu? Which means master.
No, it was because I'm always hearing from this one Prabhu, and that's how I always start off. And so I was just like
Don't
in
make that mistake again.
mechanical mode. Yeah, but anyway, Maharaj, I just always enjoy hearing your explanation of why the pure devotees have this, how should I say, this, they come across as feeling like they don't have any love for Krishna. And the way you explain it is by saying that bhakti is hunger, and the more hungry you are for something, the less you feel that you have the thing you're hungry for. Yeah. And it just makes it so kind of clear and makes it so.
A lot of these things that I say, I never heard before. I made it up myself, and therefore I have you in case it doesn't fit. But when it does fit, you appreciate it. If it doesn't, you'll go, "What about this? How does that fit it?"
Yeah, you have a knack for making the philosophy really digestible and relevant. So yeah, that's one of my faves. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Gail. Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Gumaraj, Tota Gopinath here. So great to hear from you.
Great.
Safe travels today.
Great to see you yesterday, and thanks for breaking up the crowd at the end so we can go to
I'm good for something.
They don't pick it up so easily. Okay, anybody else? Hey, Bo?
Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Radha.
Are you whispering for some reason?
Yeah, I'm sleeping still. I just wanted to say that your thoughts about external and internal very moved me today. That not all the external things saying about the devotion and amount of devotion, but internal things
Right.
that person might not possess particularly, but it doesn't mean that it's not there.
We have to be very careful because a lot of times when we say these things, we use it personally as an excuse. That's the only words I'm very always sensitive. But yeah, that's a very important point. Thank you, Jai Sri Radhe.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Okay, maybe we'll have that Bhakti Swarup Damodar at your house and we'll have a double header Saturday.
That would be wonderful.
Okay, Haribo. Anybody else?
Hey, Krishna Garaj, it's Paul Govinda. Thank you for class.
Haribo, great to see you yesterday. Okay.
Yes, thank you. Have a safe travels.
Okay, anybody else?
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, nice to see you. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Good. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Gurudev. Hare Krishna. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Nice to see you. Good. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Namasak is here. Thank you for the class.
Wow, great. Great.
Yeah, hope to see you in India.
Oh, great. Yeah, your name was on the list. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this is Hemalata Radha. Thank you so much for class, Maharaj.
Hey, Haribo. Nice
Hare
to see
Krishna. Likewise. See you soon.
you. See you soon. Good. Haribo. Anybody else?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Maharaj. This is Chad. I'm definitely going to India. I'm just one of the things I'm weighing in on is with Jiva Mukta. He's still undecided, and I'm kind of in a place where I'm trying to figure out should I get tickets now or should I get tickets with him? So that's what I'm just trying to navigate. And so that's on my ends.
I'm saving a seat for you in Puri and Govardhan. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
But in Vrindavan, you have to book your own room.
Yeah.
If you wait, you may not get the MBT. I don't know, the Bhakti Dham, they usually have, but I'm just saying that's the way it stands.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. He's thinking maybe of going.
Yeah, he's thinking. There's a couple things he's weighing in on, but he's undecided yet, and so I just haven't bought my ticket because it's just nice to travel with someone, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, okay. Did you tell him how nice the Vyas Puja was?
I did. Yeah, I did tell him how nice it was, and he said he wished he went. Actually, it's funny. Even for Vyasa Puja for Rindu, I was talking to who was it? What's his name? John J. Is it Jay? Is that Jai? Is that his name? Yeah, Johnny Voss. He said he saw Jiva Mukta briefly, even at Rindu Vyasa Puja. I don't know. He's kind of keeping to himself a little bit. So I'm trying to get him get him out. That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
It's in the DNA.
Yeah, I think so. I'm realizing it. So.
Yeah. But you're transcending it because everybody was so happy that you came early and you stayed to the very end. You get the blessings of Vaishnavas when you help them like that, you know?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I thank everyone for allowing me to do service. It's wonderful.
People appreciated it because they work hard. Okay, anybody else? Okay, I'm going to get ready. Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha.